The next session, we are going to look at public funds management. I think it's something that we can all relate to. It's something that we all care about. And to lead this session for us, we have a tremendous friend and colleague, a partner who's with us, who focuses actually on financial systems and innovation and all things innovation in that. So those of you that try to put AI and blockchain in two different buckets, that's not going to fly with Chen. Chen, I'm going to hand over to you. I know you've got a tremendous panel today, which I'm excited to hear all about. So please introduce the people that you have with you today.
Right. Hi everybody. My name is Chen. I'm a partner out of the New York EY office, and I focus on innovative technologies in financial systems. That means that I deal with both blockchain and agentic AI. I'm a part of EY's global AI technology team. And what we're going to talk about today is the use of blockchain in public finance management, and the way we are going to, this technology is going to revolutionize the way public funds behave and are managed and are tracked. And with me, there's a tremendous panel, Junshui, Advit, and Mersina, and we'll start by me asking each of you to introduce yourself, and we'll just go by order. So Advit, maybe you start first.
Thanks, Chen, and hello, everyone. I'm Advit Nath. I'm the founder and CEO of Bluebridge Global and Prism IQ. We bring Web3 technology solutions to humanitarian development.
Thank you, Chen. I'm Jinxue Qiu from the World Bank. I'm the director for the trust fund and the loan operations.
Wonderful, and I'm Mersina Tilleman Perez. I'm the VP of Impact at Circle, and I really focus on bringing the benefits of our technology to the people and places that need them most.
So the way we're going to start maybe is I'll ask each of the panelists to introduce the project, the relevant project that they have worked on this space. Junshui, maybe we will start with you. I'll ask you to introduce the funds chain project, where it is today, speak a little bit about maybe the challenges and maybe what I'm most excited about, where we see this project going.
Thank you, Chen. First of all, I'm very honored to join this panel discussion. And our funds chain initiative actually started with the World Bank fiduciary mandate. As you may know, World Bank provides finance to our client country to support the development project. And we have a critical fiduciary mandate to provide assurance our funds received by our clients only used for intended purpose. We have established oversight, including procurement, financial management. However, when funds reach to our country clients, and we have to pretty much rely on the country system. So therefore, get access the real data and the supporting evidence, how funds are used for intended purpose. It's a challenge, usually labor intensive and time consuming. So therefore, in partner with the EY, we developed this blockchain-based funds chain platform. And we provide this platform to our clients, the World Bank Finance Project. And then each player who involved the project implementation register their part of the fund flow and the disbursement transaction in the chain. And then the stakeholder, including World Bank and the government authority, can get access the detailed data and the supporting evidence record in terms of where the funds flow, how money used for the eligible expenditure. And in the larger scope, and we already started a pilot, this funds chain platform with 7 projects in 6 countries. And our vision is if we succeed in the World Bank Finance Project, we scale up, and then the other public fund management operation can use the same technology. Essentially, we promote a kind of a global public goods in terms of transparency, accountability on use of funds, and also operational efficiency in the public finance management area. That's about funds chain project.
So let's, you say a pilot, but what blows me away is when we are speaking World Bank scale, and Mersina, I'll ask you the same question about what you did as well. I'll ask it directly. How many end users are impacted by this pilot? Like, take Bangladesh as an example.
Yeah. Well, the impact is huge, right, in our client country. Given Bangladesh project as an example, right, this is a community development project. The project itself involves kind of 7 different districts and about 3,000 villages. Eventually, kind of close to 1 million final beneficiary household, right? And I have to say, together with the EY team, we built the platform, and we are very happy to work together with the EY team from system development pilot. But now it's a critical point of time, moving from pilot to larger scale implementation, right? Impact is huge. We really gain huge momentum within the World Bank and also outside the World Bank, right? Within the World Bank, it means the World Bank management, right? We all share the same vision. This is a future improve transparency, accountability in public finance area. We say also this provide a huge opportunity improve operational efficiency, both for the World Bank and also more importantly for our client countries.
Right. So just I'll repeat the number because to me it's really mind blowing when we think about the fact that. This is an enterprise-grade blockchain solution that is already touching around 1 million people, and that is just the pilot. And as we plan to scale, this solution will, in the immediate future, impact millions of people. And when we look at for example, what we're seeing, the publications, and I'm not even saying right or wrong, from what we've seen with fund traceability coming out of USAID and the questions on what and how the money was used, I think that this type of solutions will scale, and we'll talk about that maybe later, to general public management kind of a standard. Please.
Yeah, by the way, if you allow, I can add a few points, right?
Please.
The initial pilot, right? First, the feedback from the initial pilot, this is 7 countries, very positive, right? And it demonstrated this funds chain initiative, one can enable end-to-end use of funds traceability, and the Bangladesh project, right, involve. If we can do project with 1 million, beneficiary, we can do any type of project we financed, right? And also, again, operational efficiency. I use the Bangladesh as an example, right? Traditionally, because this is a project involve multiple layer, to collect, consolidate how much is spent on the ground, it takes multiple months to consolidate, we call expenditure report. With the bring all the transaction data and the records into the chain, and it only take a few minutes, generate this consolidated report, huge efficiency gain, right? And the second, we engage with our client country, and it's very much welcome, surprisingly, right? And at the beginning, when we engage a country, we were concerned about whether country going to take it, right? They buy in, and actually multiple country basically they consider this is an opportunity aligned with the government priority in terms of digitalization, right? Digitalization is a priority for a lot of our client countries, right? And last but not the least, I think through the pilot and because there's a positive feedback both within the World Bank and outside the World Bank with our client country, everybody expects that we move faster and quicker to introduce this funds chain platform to more country and more projects.
So we will talk about the risks. I want to emphasize maybe something that we didn't clearly say. So what we did in the World Bank is shadow the movement of money, of fiat money in the real world on a blockchain by moving tokens and really representing the movement of funds, knowing very well that the future is exchanging value on blockchain itself. And this is, Mersina, where I want you to come in as what Circle did with the UN, if you can tell us a little bit about that, because there we did see first examples of actually distributing the money itself on a blockchain.
Yes, absolutely. I felt very fortunate to support multiple UN agencies and other actors in the broader humanitarian and development sector in efforts to deliver digital dollars to beneficiaries around the world. And I'll talk quickly through a couple of what I feel are the most compelling examples. One has been a collaboration with the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR. UNHCR approached Circle in 2022 with the intention of supporting internally displaced individuals who had been affected by conflict in Ukraine. This was a very specific population. They were more digitally literate, they had familiarity with crypto, and UNHCR felt they would be an ideal test case for USDC being delivered. And it was a really compelling opportunity to deploy USDC individuals who had been properly vetted by UNHCR, were prompted to download a digital wallet, and then could receive digital dollars anytime, any place. They weren't constrained by banking holidays or any other limitation. I think perhaps most importantly, the process was able to inject a little bit more dignity into the process. Individuals weren't forced to queue for long periods of time at a specific location. And then they had the optionality to either hold those resources in digital form or to exchange them for local currency at 4,500 locations across Ukraine or other locations outside of Ukraine. And we were able to ensure that there was no cost associated with that transfer and exchanging the digital dollars for hard currency at the end of the fund flow. And I think what's compelling is the optionality that opens up for recipients. And when you look at other UN programs that we've run, the efficiency gains are really remarkable. We are getting reports that they're saving nearly 40% on their programs with cross-border transactions. In some instances, they've been able to reduce settlement times from T+14 to T+1. In one use case and one program that we supported, nearly 60% of recipients didn't even have smartphones, but we were still able to include them in the program, and they were still able to capture those efficiency gains. And particularly as every institution is being asked to do more with fewer resources, I think these types of tools can really empower organizations to do so much more with fewer resources. And that, to me, is kind of the promise of blockchain realized, actually opening financial empowerment to a much broader set of society.
You know, there's another efficiency gain that I think is both hard to measure and politically challenging to measure, and that is the amount of bleeding of the money that happens along the way as it is exchanging hands, and as more and more middlemen that are definitely there to help, but also are gaining access to the money. And I don't know if you measure that, but I anything to say about the fact that by being able to literally airdrop or reduce the amount of middlemen that are touching the money along the disbursement process, we are making sure that much more money arrives at the hands of those who need them. So any thoughts on that?
Yes, I will speak quickly to another example, which was in I would say, an even more complicated environment. It's a program that we've supported for a few years in Venezuela, and there was a real need to ensure that the resources were being delivered to the intended beneficiaries. And in this instance, the intended beneficiaries were frontline healthcare workers, and we were obviously operating in a sanctioned environment, and so that specificity was essential. And we were able to ensure over the course of 3 months, 60,000 individuals were paid, near 100% accuracy in the deployment of funds. You're able to actually create corruption-resistant aid pipelines to the most challenging environments on Earth, and it's not theoretical. These are programs that have been deployed for years now.
Right. So we'll go to Advit next, but I'll prepare Jun Shui with the next question. It will be about the traceability index that the World Bank is deploying. But before we go there, Advit, can you share a little bit your experience with IFED and what you did there with funds traceability?
If I can start, Chen, as to why this is important and why we started with this project with EY. And that's because if you look at the statistics, 1 in 5 people on Earth are hungry. We have over 200 million people on the move because of fragility, conflict, climate change. And these are the problems, the real world problems we're trying to solve. And I was in Bangladesh, we talked a bit about the important project that the World Bank is working on. And I was in the southern tip of Bangladesh, and I looked out into basically water, and that was land. And we saw farmers that had to move 3 times. We spoke to a woman farmer that actually had to move 3 times and recreate her life there. And what's so important is to stretch the aid and assistance dollars as far as they can go. We know that governments are now shifting their budgets also to defense and other purposes. Aid is becoming much more important to go to the end beneficiary. And that was our premise. And I was a former controller at IFAD, the UN's Agriculture Bank. And the objective, IFAD works with smallholder farmers, tens of millions around the world. And the objective is to try and support food security. So we thought if we're able to put this solution using technology, Web3 technology, such as the one that EY has developed, we called it Trace. And the idea was to trace funds from donor to farmer, and know exactly the accountability, the traceability, and the efficiency, and make it more efficient, reduce the intermediaries. So we started with a project in Kenya. This is a very digitally advanced country as well. They invented mobile money in many ways. And what we did was we started by tracing the money that was going through the systems. The $100 million project worked with about 200,000 farmers, and what we tried to do then is put those transactions of the 100 million onto a blockchain. We obviously protected personal data, so that stayed off-chain, ensured privacy in accordance with the best practice personal data privacy standards, GDPR. And we were able to see in one page $100 million flowing from the donor to the farmer. Now that is impressive because you're able to then have more accountability, so the transparency of funds moving between the different parties. You're able to reduce intermediaries, have more funds go towards the ultimate beneficiary, the farmers. And you're able to ensure accountability of funds to donors, because ultimately some of the money that comes into UN agencies and multilateral development banks is taxpayer money, and that's important that it's spent effectively and efficiently, and there's value for money. What I'm most excited about is the smart contract ability, the programmatic ability of a blockchain, where you can then make business more efficient. So for example, a farmer can look at their mobile phone, receive fertilizer or a tractor, press a button saying, I received the goods. And automatically, through a smart contract, a payment can be made to the vendor. This incentivizes faster business, better business, and enables goods and money to travel a lot more quickly to the end beneficiaries.
With much less friction. And Jun Shui, this brings me back to the point of traceability index. So can you say a little more what traceability index is? And in terms of pilot results, what numbers did we achieve? Because at least for me, I did not expect to see these numbers.
Yeah, let me explain a little bit. Right, traceability is a traceability index we introduced. It's to monitor, percentage of funds the World Bank disbursed to the particular project have end-to-end traceability to the final beneficiary. That's the indicator we introduced, right? And what that means, right? And the World Bank, we know how much money we disburse to the country for individual or financed project. And through the funds chain, and we create a different disbursement scenario, which is able to cover all different type of World Bank project, right? And then this different scenario, we allow each player of the project implementation register their part of the transaction from end to end, right? I give two quick examples if you allow me.
Yeah, of course.
One scenario, for example, government entity sign a fertilizer contract. I use your example, right, with a supplier. So contract signed, supplier deliver fertilizer to the farmer, and farmer receive fertilizer, and then supplier deliver invoice, project entity, government project entity make a payment. Final step, the supplier need to confirm they indeed receive exact amount of payment. Each of these transactions will be registered by different player into the blockchain. So therefore, we can monitor for this particular case whether money can be traced to the final beneficiary. That's one example scenario, right? Another sample scenario, this is a 1 million household. The government entity deliver the World Bank funds to this 1 million household beneficiary. And then traditionally, we have no clue what is the leakage, right? Leakage means whether money actually received by beneficiary. And then through the funds chain, the government deliver money, not just the government entity confirm money delivered to the individual. More importantly, through user-friendly mechanism, cell phone, text message, each individual household will need to confirm they indeed receive money in their account. Right? And of course, through the indicator, traceability index, we know what is the percentage actually received, right? The pilot indication, and usually when we start, we have more than 90%, traceability index, right? This is a huge success.
So 90% means that we have proven documentation of the flow from the different participants rather than a centralized entity. So there's power in decentralization here.
Yeah.
We have multiple confirmations that the money reached its destination, and I think that in terms of making sure that, and this is especially relevant these days with what we're seeing coming from the US, making sure that the money is used for the purpose for which it was given, reaches in the World Bank's pilot cases 90% and above traceability. Mersina, maybe you can say a few words about the next level of what does it mean with when we start using USDC, and maybe then speak about purpose-bound money, how we are wrapping USDC and connecting it to project requirements. We can have a discussion about that.
Very good question, right? And through the current stage, the traceability, and we trace where the money flow and how money spent, by the end beneficiary, right? And we focus on information sharing at this stage, right? And we gain access to the detailed data and supporting evidence records in terms of the expenditure and the payment. We focus on information sharing, right? World Bank can get all this data and information. The government authority can get access this data and the information. Of course, this blockchain-based funds chain platform has the capacity in terms of share the value, tokenize, move the money through the chain, right? The reason we have not started because we want to step by step, learning by doing, gain enough experience, and then move to the next step, right?
Important to say, sorry to cut you, that the design of the system will allow us a transition towards transacting real value on chain.
Yeah, that's a blockchain system capacity already there, right?
Right.
Of course, there are a couple of steps we move into that stage, right? One is as I mentioned earlier, the World Bank side we plan to scale up, adoption of the funds chain to more World Bank finance project in the next 1 or 2 years. We move very aggressively in that regard, right? Second, we also start working together with the EY and other counterpart. We start a concept review, right, to identify where are the suitable use case, right, through the World Bank Finance Project, and which country, what particular scenario we can benefit from this additional capacity, exchange value, maybe use the CRD, USDC, right? And first, we started as we have been doing with the first phase of funds chain sharing information. We want to do step by step, right? I think the key lessons learned from funds chain initiative so far is we really need first to identify suitable use case for right technology.
Right. So I want to say something to the audience. I see Q&A coming, and there's really some good questions there. So let's try to address a few. Marcina, we will let's look at the second one, especially as being part of Circle. What regulatory considerations you're seeing? How are we addressing them, and how is regulation catching up to allow us to evolve this solution in your
Yes, it's an excellent question. With Europe's MiCA and the proposed U.S. framework for stablecoins, we are seeing a turning point where stablecoins are no longer going to be operating in a legal gray zone. And this is really meaningful for both users and issuers. That kind of regulatory clarity really reduces risk and boosts confidence. And particularly with use cases in payments and remittances, that makes a dramatic difference. Ultimately, regulatory clarity enables stablecoins to fulfill their potential as widely used, safe, hugely efficient financial instruments, and that is what we will be seeing more of.
Perfect. I want to capture a quick question and answer. There's a question, when we said 90% traceability, where does the 10% gap come from? And the 10% gap currently comes from, for 10%, we don't have the supporting documentation. So it doesn't mean that the 10% didn't go to the right place. It means we don't have the full supporting documentation. It is still a tremendous improvement compared to previous state.
Yeah, I want to echo that, right?
Yes.
Very important. I don't want to give people wrong impression. This 10% is a misuse of funds, right? Because with pilot stage, as your executive point out, because for each transaction, in order to include in this 90% traceability index, we need a closed loop, right? Closed loop means supporting documents need to be uploaded into the chain. For example, cash payment to the household need to click, cell phone, the message button, right, and to indicate receive money. There's some case either supporting document not yet uploaded to the chain, or the household forgot to click the button. Right. But for the assurance perspective, right? At least we can focus on this 10% rather than 90%.
Exactly. And you want to add something or not? If not, I'll give you the challenges question.
Okay.
So do both.
Thanks. I'll just complement that point, because right now, if you look at the development assistance space and where the World Bank, the multilateral development banks, the UN system, NGOs operate, there is a massive assurance process, meaning audit, assurance, financial management. So we spend an enormous amount of money to make sure that the accountability of the funds from donors goes to the end beneficiary. Yeah. But it's very expensive. It's extremely expensive because you're hiring auditors, you're hiring financial management specialists, you're going into audit projects twice a year sometimes. You have evaluation that comes in. So there's almost 4 or 5 layers, plus the three lines of defense as well. If we can use this system, it will reduce dramatically that cost. And that's the efficiency that you can, and that's the money that goes to end beneficiaries.
Right. Let's talk about the challenges questions. What challenges, and maybe I'll ask this each of you. So I'll repeat the question. What challenges exist in integrating blockchain with existing public finance management systems? I would add with existing government systems, because the key here, and Junshui, that's another point that is really important to emphasize. The World Bank is not trying to replace local governments, but to enable them. Mm-hmm. So let's, maybe we'll go one by one. So Marcina, if you can start what challenges you're seeing, and then Junshui, then Advit. Let's talk about challenges a little bit.
One of the challenges that I see perennially is that while USDC specifically is widely available, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution for every public finance challenge. And these solutions end up actually being quite geography-specific. And so there isn't really a mechanism for creating a template that universally will address all of these challenges. You have to have serious buy-in on the country level to make sure that the solution effectively addresses the local population and the different infrastructure that exists in those specific environments. I would say for us that ends up being one of the pain points.
I just want to echo your point that there's no one-size-fits-all solution, right? That's very important. Our approach for the funds chain solution, when we introduce individual project, and we are very much mindful each country, each World Bank finance project facing different situation, right? We really need to take this context-based approach as the key in terms of rolling out funds chain to our client country, right? And the next step, right, when we're scaling up, one of the approach is, usually World Bank, we design a project, prepare a project, take multiple months. We want to introduce a funds chain as a part of the solution at a project design stage, right? Through that exercise, we will better understand what is the client needs, the country system scenario, and then we can either funds chain become co-engine for the project information system and or provide the input to the country system. I think one of the key challenges is, once we roll out this new technology, we really need to take into consideration what are the client needs, what is the country situation, right? And then we can integrate whatever solution we provide into the country context, and then achieve intended efficiency gain.
Advit, how do you see challenges?
I think that because we're not in a digital currency world right now, I think we're going to get there, but we're not there now. There's still many paper-based systems, depending on which country you're in. There's still sort of old systems that don't talk to each other. There's ERP systems, some are very antiquated, they're expensive, they're hard to maintain. So I think the challenge is that we have to also fit the technology to the reality, not the other way around. And I was just talking to some colleagues in the UN last week, and they were saying they still need to move cash in some places because of security reasons in metal boxes, through armored vehicles, through flights. This is still very dangerous, and it's not ideal. But when we move to the digital currency world, where we have everyone operating on digital currencies, money can move at the speed of light. So I think the challenges are going to be that we have to work with systems that are not interoperable right now. And that's where you have the layers right now. This PFM, the UI system, is a layer that is able to bring everything together. And I think we will eventually evolve this system into something that will be an exchange of value, that will have AI agents operating to reduce costs over time. So it's also, to what Jung Shui said, is we have to respect sovereignty. And I think it's important that any solution that we build and supply to sovereign governments is offering them choices of what value they transfer, how they report. And what I've seen in my experience is that governments are very interested in transparency. They want the money to go in the right place, particularly the ministries of finance. And this is important because it's not that we don't want to do this. I think it's just we don't have the capability to do it in a reasonable way. And this is now a very reasonably it's a very cost-effective way, if I can say that, compared to changing ERP systems across every government entity to be able to have one system. This is a layer above it that can talk and bring everything together and automate. So it's a very effective system that way.
Yeah, I think it connects to the next question I see coming from the audience, and that is about citizen involvement in country budgets. As we go more towards digital, I think that I would put it this way. We're seeing the developed world invest a lot of resources in AI technology, blockchain technology, advanced manufacturing, etc. While here, if we are focusing more on how we make the world more equitable and how we make these technologies more accessible to citizens all over the world, and how we make citizens see more transparently what their tax dollars are buying, I think that is really the next level in that regard. The ability to, I'll put it this way, unlike private funds that definitely enjoy the benefit of anonymity, when we are talking about public funds, maybe put defense budgets aside, when we are talking about public funds, there is no reason citizens would not be able to look at where the money is going. It's eventually their money. We're seeing it happen in multiple places around the world right now. And the fact that we are able to put on a blockchain, in an immutable way, a transparent record of what the public money did and connect it. You know what, that's, Junshui, another question I would ask you is about the result tracking and the immutability of the reporting. So, and how are we seeing that impact the amount of funds that are truly being used for the source, the reason they were given?
There are a couple points, right? One is, our funds chain experience, right, and digitalization of the documentation, as you mentioned, right, and bring every individual party of the project implementation into the chain is already engaged, the citizen, right? The example, 1 million household, they need to confirm whether the money they indeed received, right? It's already engagement. And then the second part, of course, we respect the government, sovereignty, right? And data is there, right? What is data, disclosed to the public? That's a government decision. But the even high level, for the World Bank Finance Project, this traceability index, right? That's a very high level. It's already, meaningful to the public, right? And the other things we talk about, because of blockchain technology itself, the data we collect and the supporting record we collect, and is already tamper-free, reliable. Right, that's a technology help us to confirm that, right?
And right, and this is a very important point to note. It is not that we are taking the data and putting it on chain. We're not doing it not with the identity and not with the supporting documentation. But when it comes to supporting documentation, what we can definitely do on chain is notarize the data. Yeah. And when we notarize the data, it becomes immutable. And when people know that whatever they are reporting becomes immutable and then eventually audited, I believe it will change their behavior and the appetite for change. Yes, and then Advait.
That's very important point, right? Advait already mentioned, right? In the public finance world, right? And traditionally spend a lot of money on the oversight, including audit, right? With the data and this reliable records we collect through the funds chain, we can do audit differently. We can do procurement oversight, financial management oversight in a completely different way. This is going to be our game changer.
Right, we will get to, I was waiting for agentic AI to introduce itself into the picture, but before we go there, Advait, please.
Yeah, I think that governments need to rethink how they engage with citizens. And they can do it today with the technology today. I've just recently started my own tech startup, and I was thinking about where should I incorporate the company. And it was so easy to do it in Estonia as one example, and I know there are many other countries that have similar digital e-government systems. And when I went online, I was able to create a company literally within a day, and I saw what they have online. They have land records online. They have e-justice online. I heard you don't even need to have your driver's license when you travel, because all on a blockchain. This is fantastic for citizens who have information that they can see. In some countries, like fragile countries, it's much more important because you could actually see what land you own if there's a flood, if there's a catastrophic event that happens. So I think governments will be much more accountable to their citizens if they use technology such as blockchain technology. It can improve the budgeting process as well and increase citizen engagement with their governments as well.
Right, so I want to open a question to the forum that again comes from the audience, which is what level of adoption is required across departments for this type of solutions, PFM or funds chain, to be effective? And when we look at funds chain, we are doing it project by project, but then how do you see this scale and impact developing countries beyond that? So any one of you.
Yeah, maybe I can start, right? We really need to do step by step, right? This is just the beginning of the journey. And as I mentioned, first we focus on introduce the funds chain to the World Bank Finance Project, and then through, country by country, we, use the funds chain for a number of projects, demonstrate the value to the government and also to the public, right? And then government may start, some government we engage, they already, think about their own digitalization agenda, right? And the Safe Funds Chain is a great example. And we will work together with the government, learning, by doing, right? And then I hope at a certain stage, the government also decide not just for World Bank Finance Project, but also for their own government public funded project, use the same technology.
So that's a really interesting point. First of all, we built the solution as an open source public good. It's really important to say that. There's no IP ownership and licenses to pay. And the second thing, the way the solution is built, because it's all open source technology, and already in the first pilot version, maybe, Junshui, you could say a word about that, we are not limiting the fund tracking just to World Bank funds. So we already have one pilot at least, right? That uses that tracks the funds that come both from the World Bank, but the local government is adding its own funds and tracking both. Yeah. Right? So maybe there's a question about the vision of where do you see this? How do you see this evolve in the next few years?
There are a couple of steps, right, from World Bank side. One is we want all the World Bank Finance project start to use funds chain in the next few years, right? Which means we will promote this very aggressively, and maybe some project we make it mandatory, right? And start with the World Bank Finance project. That's the first step, right? Second, through this initial step with the World Bank Finance project, the World Bank team, local team, will engage with the government, better understand the perception from the government side, and what is the value we create, and then help them hopefully, or they find the similar technology solution, for the government side, right? That's a step-by-step learning by doing, contact-based approach, very important.
Advit, anything to add?
Just to complement that, it's a modular approach is how I see it. So there could be some governments or levels of government or entities in the supply chain that are ready, and they can come forward and they can put the information on chain. And I think it's the carrot approach, it's the incentivization approach that really works here. You show that you could get paid literally in seconds rather than in 90 days. And I'll tell you, suppliers will come forward on that. And so the benefit of seeing that you can have different realities on the ground in terms of automation, and then layer in through a mobile app as one channel to put information on the blockchain, through a web app where you can put information on a blockchain. You can have a feature phone, you can have a smartphone. So I think the options and the choice is very key. And then when we move towards more digital money, the choice of what type of funding would be important for the beneficiaries to receive will also be built into this system. So that offers choice, offers opportunity, and efficiency.
Mersina, I want to ask the same vision question to you. And something we didn't prepare for, I'll ask you anyhow. Circle is super focused on USDC, but when we are on US dollar tokenization, basically. But how does your vision go beyond just dollar in order to accommodate other countries and other jurisdictions in the world? What are at least in high level, your plans to make a USDC-like offering with other currencies? For example, the euro is a good example, I assume.
Yes. So, of course, we have USDC, about 60 billion in circulation, but we also have URC, which is our euro-denominated stablecoin. And for now, we are very focused on those, but the broad accessibility really enables us to reach so much of the world. And something that I just want to address, because I don't think it was pointed out enough, is that in so many of the programs that we have supported, it's not just that you're enabling faster settlement times, reducing administrative costs, reducing the fees associated with cross-border transactions. You're also equipping these communities with skills that enable them to capture that value in so many other parts of their work and their business. And that's something that we have seen in many parts of the world with the various UN agencies, is by enabling beneficiaries to learn how to access a digital wallet, they're actually opening an entire new universe to these different communities. And that is real empowerment, and that is real capacity building. And it's something that I don't think we talk about enough, because you're opening a whole new world to these various populations.
So I fully agree, and I'll add a few more examples. In order to make this scale, we need to solve for a digital identity platform. We need to solve for a last mile payment solution. We need to solve for the way you can capture purpose-bound money and lock it to specific objectives. And by building this platform and then offering it to developing countries, we are allowing governments that don't have the funds to invest on their own on such huge R&D demands to leapfrog their capabilities into the digital age that is so important, knowing the disruption that is coming from innovative technologies and from AI. And before we go to the AI thing, let's talk about the risks. What risks are you seeing, and how are we mitigating them? We'll go, Advit, you start, and then we'll go one by one. I think that each of you can think about a different angle to risks.
Yeah, I think that given the blockchains are so secure because they're not hackable as in terms of the ledger technology of the blockchain, the risks are more in not utilizing the full potential of this technology. I think if we don't plan and really listen to our clients and the people in the supply chains, I think there's a risk that the technology won't be adopted. Again, technology has two different facets. Some people embrace it, some people find it threatening. And I think that it's how you communicate the technology, how do you design it with the entire supply chain in mind. I think that's going to be very critical. And that's why I think what the World Bank has done has been very systematic and sensible to be able to really think through what would work in the different contexts that we work in. So there's fragile countries, there's conflict countries, there's countries that are island states, they have different challenges, countries that are landlocked that have different challenges. So I think trying to understand governance, regulation, the policies and procedures of countries, respecting them, and at the same time finding solutions that adapt and work with them. So I think the risk in general, they are risks of not building the technology appropriately. But with the right planning, the right approach, I think those risks can be mitigated.
Thank you. Junshui, risks. The World Bank is, I will share that, that we've been in this journey together for a few years. This is not something that we did overnight. And at least one of the challenges, for example, was getting what we built through World Bank information security, to make sure that everything we're doing is not exposing private information, etc. So maybe say a few words about the risks.
Yeah, in terms of, I'm thinking from three kind of dimension. One is the stakeholder engagement and the commitment, right? And given Funds Chain as the example you already mentioned, right? This is being a journey, right? And we're very happy working together with your team. At the beginning, get people understand the vision and the direction we're moving. And it's not an easy thing, right? And luckily, through the pilot, now within the bank and outside bank, is a huge momentum and interest, right? And because the people see the vision, right? And about transparency, accountability, operational efficiency, right? And then from countryside, right? As Vinda already mentioned, we really need to respect our clients, right? And get the country buy-in. That's a huge deal, right? Luckily, through the pilot, many countries share the same vision and direction we are moving forward. That's the first thing, right? Second thing is capacity, right? And based on the Funds Chain example, capacity within the World Bank and also from client side, very important, right? Because we talk about the adoption of new technology, and I believe, 10 years ago, nobody knows this technology, right? So therefore, for the World Bank Funds Chain, we have a small team. Small team will not be able to, move the funds chain to the largest scale. So therefore, we need to build our own capacity, particularly the frontline staff in the country, right? In the country, World Bank staff in the country, they are the champion to engage with the government. And then from the government side, the bank finance project, right? Building the capacity is not easy, right? And EY team, you join us for many onboarding, government workshop. You know how challenging some point of time. It's understandable, right? Once we build more and more capacity within the World Bank and in the countryside, I believe this scaling up will move very fast and quick. Last, collaboration, right? Collaboration with the stakeholder, very important, right? That's why World Bank will implement this Funds Chain initiative in collaboration with the EY, with the other MDB, with the government, right? Without a collaboration, we cannot, scaling up.
Right, and I would say to that point that one of the reasons that I truly think that EY is an organization like EY has to be in the mix is the big four reach in all the countries. We have local experts in implementation in technology, in regulation, in each and every country that would support the scaling of such a solution. I think that's very valuable. One risk aspect we didn't touch upon, and Mersina, maybe we can touch upon together, is the technology risk. And especially as we move to transferring value on chain, what are the risks that you are seeing? And I believe a lot of them Circle is positioning itself to solve. So,
yes, I mean, when I consider risk for these kinds of projects, in order to deploy any of these programs, a broad constellation of partners need to come together to construct the value chain that actually deploys these different systems. And there is a risk when there's disconnection between those partners. I think despite the decentralized nature of the technology, shared understanding is never more important than when you're working on one of these programs, and deep engagement by country offices, by folks on the ground, and by individuals at every single level of integration is critical, because if you don't have that, then it won't actually function effectively. And in terms of the transfer of value, I think in so many ways you're able to mitigate the risk really dramatically through the technology. You are using something, in the case of USDC, that is fully backed by dollars and regulated financial institutions, and that's actually much more secure than many other mechanisms for moving value cross-border.
Right. I would add the call it shout out to the crypto industry, because while we are not touching cryptocurrency, we are definitely looking at the most leading solutions that are battle tested in the crypto industry. Specifically, I'm talking about digital identity solutions and custody solutions, institutional custody solutions that we are looking at in order to make sure that things that work in the wild west of cryptocurrency and are secure can definitely work for our scenarios as well, and reduce significantly the risk of transacting. Again, what I think that is so nice about the way we're looking and tokenizing these funds and funds flow, we are, even in the long term, are not talking about a public permissionless system. We definitely see the public blockchain as the way to scale, but public permissioned, meaning if we don't know who you are, we can use the code to make sure that you cannot touch the tokens. So whitelisting or KYCing is one way to make sure that the funds are secure. And that would bring me to the last point I waited from the start to bring up. I think that as we are digitizing and we are collecting the data, we are also readying ourselves to the world of AI and agentic AI. And Junshui, maybe you can also say a few things. We spoke about it a little bit in the morning. A lot of this auditing, a lot of this disbursement of funds, we are seeing automated with the AI. So maybe you can say a few words about that.
Yeah, we are very happy and also very excited where we are in terms of funds chain implementation, and we are at a critical junction, moving from pilot to scaling up, right? And there's a huge potential, right? We really looking forward the next step once we're scaling up, and we can materialized all this efficient gain, benefit we talk about, right? And again, once we gain access to the data and the reliable records, we can do the oversight differently, right? Much more efficiently and in a different way. Auditor is the example we talk a lot of. I don't need to repeat it, right? And also, we are very excited to explore the opportunity whenever it's feasible and use the same platform to exchange the value, right?
Right.
And very interesting to hear a lot of technology solution already in the market is already demo the value. We're really looking forward to that.
Right. Another thing that I would say, a question that didn't come, and I expected it to come, about privacy. And in our future designs, we definitely see a world where individual privacy is protected, but we are still tracking expenditure types, as an example, without getting exposed to any individual names, and still being able to use technologies like zero-knowledge proof that even EY itself is developing in order to enjoy both worlds. Yeah. I see we have like a minute left. Any closing thoughts? Advid.
I think that blockchain and AI, I think, will be partners and will work so effectively together. AI with the language translation in real time, AI with just the ability to read documents in different languages and different types of documents, different formats coming together. And I think all that will supercharge blockchain and have adoption for both technologies to support humanitarian and international development in this case.
Mersina, closing words.
I'm just really excited about how these efficiencies are empowering organizations and institutions to do so much more, to amplify their impact and to redistribute those savings to the individuals that they're serving. So I'm very excited to see more to come there.
Junshui, closing words.
Just very exciting and looking forward.
Yes, exactly where when I would close any words, I'm looking to the next 12 months of scaling and literally touching and reaching millions of people in the areas where they are needed most, and with impacting this technology and making their lives better, shaping the future and building a better world. With that, and exactly on time, back to Claire.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to Chen and to Advik and Jean-Zhu and Mersina. It's been wonderful having you with us.